Hey everybody, welcome to EventSpeak with me, Big John, CEO of Beyond Experiential. We are an interview show that lives on the EventSpeak network at www.eventspeak.com. We basically created this thing as an opportunity to give you a voice, to have a new social platform that's tied into a virtual community to support every aspect of the event ecosystem. Our guests have ranged from brand marketing, agency owners, directors, producers, to people that are Hollywood movie producers, concert promoters, magicians, comedians, musicians, and today's guest is no exception. She is one of my dearest friends and one of my most trusted vendors, Sierra Sapunar of Las Vegas's Posh Productions. Now, Sierra has a very diverse background. She, at one point in her life, was an Olympic-level gymnast, taking the U.S. nationals team all over the world. That led her to getting a degree in journalism from the University of Georgia, and then moving to Las Vegas 14 years ago and getting established is probably an understatement, as a performer, doing all sorts of different shows, and spent 10 years with the Cirque du Soleil and part of the Beatles Love Show. That is when we met back in the day. And then being inspired by what she was doing performing, started her company with her partner Melanie, Posh Productions, and she's with us now via Zoom from the Redwood City area up in Northern California. Sierra, nice to see you and welcome to EventSpeak.
Hello, everyone.
Joining us from up north with folks right up in the Redwoods.
Yeah, been quarantining with my parents. Came out here for 4 days and ended up here for 2 months. So,
oh, wow. Wow. So it was like, oh, we'll go visit mom and dad for a minute, and then you ended up being there for 2 months. So
yep, I just
serendipitous, maybe?
Just transitioning my career. It was about March 7th, and Cirque du Soleil. I was transitioning from Cirque du Soleil into running my company full time, and taking a little break. And then I ended up staying here, and Las Vegas shut down. So all our events were canceled.
Yes, that has got to be the first time in history that Las Vegas is completely shut down. Like every casino, everything's dark, and has been now for what, over a month?
Yeah, and I've been hearing through my teammates and my fellow performers in Cirque, some of who are on work visas and are not U.S. citizens, so cannot collect unemployment and are suffering. It's challenging. You know, I think that Cirque du Soleil is really facing a tough time. And we'll just have to see what happens, but it's not going to be an easy road back. So my heart goes out to all of those performers, as well as my own roster of performers.
Now that's something that wouldn't have occurred to me. There's a lot of folks that come from all over the world to perform in Las Vegas. They're working on visas, as you said. So what kind of advice would you be, what advice are you giving your performers right now, as in you're trying to sort of navigate this, and if you're looking to like, hey, we just need to do this to get through this, what kind of advice are you giving them in that matter?
Well, I think it's important to stay present, and social media is a great way to do that. I have some of my performers who've created hula hooping classes for beginners all the way to advanced. Some of my friends have created a quarantine cabaret where they feature different performers every episode. So just trying to stay relevant in the scene and keep their skills. I have aerialists rigging up in parks in Las Vegas, doing some virtual DJ, virtual dancing. I just got a request. Our first request has come in for a virtual magician.
Really?
So, because of course businesses are still having meetings on Zoom, or still, functions are happening just from your home. And so they were talking about possibly as a guest doing some magic on there, which I thought was a really interesting idea.
Absolutely. You know, we actually had a very good friend of mine on the show recently, Zach Waldman, who is a very prominent magician and comedian here in LA.
Yeah.
And he had two different things that he came up. He mentioned, number one, actually getting requests from clients that wanted to do virtual magic shows, and one of which was actually him with this guy's girlfriend, who was in person. So he's 6 feet away from her, doing magic while the guy is on Zoom on his phone watching from wherever he was at, because they couldn't be together, and he had hired Zach for like her birthday or something. And
Yeah,
that was like, yeah, like it was like right at the middle of March too, like when this first happened. So I find that very interesting to hear that you're also getting those sort of requests. You guys have a bit of a unique thing that you do, because you and your business partner are both performers, and now also operating Posh, which essentially is a host of various performers models. In fact, let's step back a little bit. Tell me and tell everybody else what Posh does, and what you guys specialize in.
Well, we're basically the one-stop shop for all your entertainment needs. We just help create the most amazing experience that we can with our clients, and tailored to exactly what they need, from their company logos and colors and entertainment, everything from music to acrobats to showgirls to freak artists to models. We get it all full spectrum entertainment.
You definitely do. And folks, I'll tell you, we've actually we've done a lot of work with Posh over the years, and I would say that Sierra and Posh have become my phone call when there's nobody else I could think, like, you want a professional what? Who would I know that might have that? And you're like, oh yeah, I got 4 of them. Oh, in Dubai? Sure, we can do that. I'm like, just incredible. How did you build that network? Does that tie into, like, back in your days of traveling, doing the Olympic level gymnastics? Like, you have a huge network. Like, how did you develop that? Where does that come from?
So me and my partner have different backgrounds. She's been a freelance performer. My partner, Melanie Kramer is her name, and she comes from a freelance background, from 17 years old, from busking down on Fremont Street to being a magician's assistant. She worked with Chris Angel. So she has kind of the nitty-gritty of our performer base, and I have more of the Cirque du Soleil acts because of my experience in Cirque. And the whole idea behind me creating Posh was when one of the shows I was in had to close, and I had 75 of some of the most talented people I'd ever met in my life, and now no one had a job anymore. So I was like, I can help these people. I can network. I know that I can sell these people. I know that sounds bad, but I can sell their talent. I can help them. And that's how it happened. And me and my partner met one day through a mutual friend at a baby shower. And the next day we opened up Posh in 2000.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that it was only one day with you and Melanie. And Melanie, also a good friend of mine, and someone I've actually worked with individually as well. And I think you guys have a really a diverse dichotomy amongst the two of you, which I think plays well to Posh's strengths. I love that, you essentially started it out of necessity, thinking of, I'm a performer, these are performers, we need to perform, we need to work, let's start a company. That's the most, like, sincere, passionate thing that I feel like a company needs to build off that. I think it was Warren Buffett once said, like, you have to take what you're passionate about and turn it into your means to an end. And I feel like when you can find that, you find a model that works, and it's clearly working for you guys. Now, if BC, as Austin just said to me, a friend of mine from Fremont Blue Events we were interviewing, she said BC as in before Corona. So you guys had just opened a new office, right, in Las Vegas as well.
Yeah.
So you got your First brick
we
and
have
mortar.
an amazing office, of course, two months before this happened, but we have all our amazing costumes and our costume designer, and we have a whole rigging company that's there, and they set up a portable rig, and we can create some amazing things, and we're excited. We were about to do an opening party when this all happened, and then we have a props team also there too. So we have props, rigging, and Posh, who's all there in this one building, which is actually the old UFC gym in Vegas. Oh. And it's high ceilings, and we're going to be doing some really cool things in there. So excited to get back to that. Eventually it will happen. It's a little detour.
What are you guys hearing from Las Vegas locally? You know, I'm sure that there's a lot of. I mean, I think Vegas it's a very unique ecosystem of its own, just based off of the kind of the nerve center of the city and how it survives. Are you hearing anything of like, when do you think it might start to get reopened again? Are you guys hearing anything as far as on the event level, or is it just all still a big old question mark?
I believe today our governor was supposed to make an announcement about that, so I'm not sure with that. But I know that MGM, I know Cirque du Soleil, no one's selling tickets until June, and then even then, I don't know who's going to go.
Yeah.
It's just going to be. I mean, we're just going to have to see, because no one can predict what's going to happen, and. Yeah. I mean, big crowds. I mean, even from the different shows, there's different acts that will need to be taken out. Even in the show I was in, Beatles Love, we had a huge sheet going over the heads, and the audience everyone was under the sheet, and it's this really psychedelic experience. And we can't have everyone touching that sheet anymore. So things like that will need to be taken out. There's a couple other shows, of course, in Cirque that are, interactive with the audience that will need to be adjusted. So lots of changes are going to happen even before the shows can open. They're going to have to restructure a lot of them.
It's interesting, Sierra, because as I mentioned, here on EventSpeak, we've been talking to all kinds of different folks, and there's one common thing is that everything's going to change, but yet be based off of what was before. So it's. I feel like we're going to have an semblance of familiarity of BC before Corona, but you wouldn't think of it from that level. But with Vegas and the shows and the events, so much of it is centered on audience interaction, participation, that I think you're right, absolutely. Going forward from this, I think even once, let's say, the country's back open, there's going to be a lot of people that I think are from a financial standpoint, everyone's broke. There's, 30 million people on unemployment right now, whatever it is. It's going to take time to be able to afford to be able to get back out. Then on top of it, there's the whole PTSD aspect of it, the whole mental well-being or lack of it in some cases, where look at what we're seeing just right now of the way a lot of people are responding and reacting to this. I think it's going to take a long time for people to get comfortable again being in larger crowds, let alone just for the industry to get to a point where production companies and promoters are going to be willing to even take that kind of a gamble, because it seems like the common narrative is that it's going to be smaller events to smaller groups of people to start. But I would think as a performer yourself, and as someone that employs a lot of performers, whatever you guys can do to get going again and start performing again is what you're going to have to do. It's kind of like forcing you guys, just like all of us, to sort of reinvent yourselves. And the thing about performing that I've always, something that I enjoy as a spectator, that I would think is very important for a performer, is feeding off the energy of a live audience and feeding off the energy of a live environment. I've seen the Beatles Love Show. I know exactly what you're talking about, and part of what makes that experience. I mean, you could watch that in HD, virtual reality, and go, wow, this is something.
Yeah.
But then to be there and touch it and interact with it, I mean, that's all now changed. And I think we'd like to think that if we're going to learn anything coming out of COVID, is that it can't just go back to the way it was, because it's inevitable that, there's a second wave of this coming. What does that look like? I think the actions that we're taking now are really going to largely dictate how that plays out. And then, of course, once we're on the other side of this, and standardized testing is a thing, and the vaccination is available at a large scale, which it's going to be a while before we see that from what the experts say, then even then, I think it's still something where we have to be thinking about the next one and what happens next. It's like the story I told you that Lucas Keller told me about Wembley having pandemic insurance and paying this astronomical cost for it every year, but kept it. And then when it happened, getting this giant check. They probably are the only story in the world that exists like that, because it's just not something, and this is me kind of beating the dead horse. I've said this so many times on the show. You just don't plan for it. Who thinks about, when you're planning your year, when you guys are sitting down at Posh HQ and thinking about what the rest of the year looks like for you guys, you're not contemplating the if there's a pandemic.
Yeah.
It's just not there. But I always believe that, smooth seas never made good sailors, as my father used to say. And we have to be able to pivot and adapt. And that is the nature of our business, and I would think it's very similar for you. Now, I'm curious. Now, as a performer by nature, and now, as you mentioned, transitioning to going full time to being a boss at Posh, where you're literally, you got your fingers in it all day long. And obviously, this is again BC, before Corona. Do you find it difficult, like wanting to like sort of jump back in there, because it's in your blood, you know what I mean? Like you're in a bakery all day and you don't eat donuts anymore, but you want to eat the donuts, but you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, when we get that aerial rig set up in our office, I will definitely be playing on that still, for sure.
Rubbing our hands together.
Yeah, but it's bittersweet, because I'm 38, and so it's eventually it's like the professional athletes, same kind of thing. When am I going to transition into something that's not beating my body up? I faced a pretty bad injury, which was one of my decisions to completely go forward with Posh and leave performing behind. But yeah, it's a transition for sure. I love performing, and it's always in me. But I love now booking other people to get to do what they love to do, because I've had so much success in my career. I've been so fortunate, so lucky, from being a gymnast, and being in 3 shows. I was in 2 Cirque shows, and then a classic Vegas show, Folies Bergère, the Tropicana, the longest running showgirl show. So I've been so fortunate. So I think it's time. You have to know when it's time to pass the torch and help lift up other people, make them famous, allow them to do what they love. I have that opportunity now, and that is so fulfilling for me.
That's awesome. To quote the famous legendary actor Jack Lemmon, you have to send the elevator back down. I think that, it's something to be said when you're fostering the youth. It was a similar transition for me as it relates to my own career, because as you know, for a long time, I worked as a tour manager and loved just being out, just being out there and getting out to live the life of the road, and then to put the focus on launching beyond and trying to, as you said, you got to know when it's time to start passing the torch. That was tough. Every truck that I oversaw, like getting loaded to watch this, young team go out, I wanted to jump in there with them. But I think it's important to foster the youth, and you start recognizing talent that you see in others, and you have a unique opportunity to provide them not only opportunities, but to help them learn how you did things, and where the things that you did, that the bumps of knowledge you have, you can pass on to the next generation. And I think that stays with people too. You get a sense, you get people that are loyal to you, the people that when the phone rings and it's you and Posh are gonna get the bids to other agencies they might be working with as well, because of you taking that interest to sort of ambassador the next generation. I think that's important, especially in our business, a shared business of events. And of course, I would imagine it's something that you would see with, being a performer. So, all right. So what I've been doing with folks is we have these conversations, and this is, we touched on this a little bit before we went on camera, but you've got some time on your hands now. So I know you're up with your family. How are you guys spending it? You guys doing some cooking? If so, what's for dinner tonight? If you're knocking back a cocktail, do you have a favorite one? And what is it?
Yeah, everyday happy hour on the porch. That's my dad and I's thing. So having some daddy-daughter time doing that. And my mom and I are going on long hikes and walks and enjoying nature. And I cook almost every night. I'm making sweet potato fries and stuffed chicken and some cabbage tonight. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. But one of the most important things I'm doing, which actually goes right back to Posh, is I am rebranding our company. So I'm launching our new website, and I put a lot of work into it. I have a great web designer, if anyone needs one, and she's there with me every step of the way. And I'm very proud of it. It's just how far we've come. I've been looking through all the pictures, and we've done events with Mayweather. We've done events with Elro, this company in Spain. We did the event with you, with the Aeronauts and Amazon. We've done events with Drake. I mean, we've done such amazing events that I'm able to just now put everything together. And so I'm really proud of that.
Wonderful. What's that website? PoshProductionsLV.com?
Yeah, PoshProductionsLV.com. So we're very excited about that. And then I'm also planning to go to graduate school. So I don't even know if you know that.
I didn't. Wow. Yeah. Good for you. Okay.
In psychology. So that's my plan, and my parents are both psychotherapists. So I'm going to follow the family path here and join the family business. And when, much later on, of course, Posh is my priority, but I have like a 5-year plan, and I'll be able to go to school and do Posh at the same time. And I'm used to it because I was in Cirque full time, and I was running my company too. So I'll be able to do, obviously I won't be quite as busy in school, but I'm excited about that. So that adventure.
That's amazing, Sierra. I mean, you are, I've said this to you, and I'll say it to anybody watching. She is one of the hardest working people in the business. And, we've known each other a long time. We met very randomly in Las Vegas years ago, and became quick friends and have remained friends ever since. And it was a good chunk of years into it. I feel like that the opportunity to work together came up, yep. but once it did, it just really made sense. And it's something I value very much, because it's a unique thing that when you can have someone that you consider a dear friend, but you also are able to kind of take that hat off and put on the professional hat and work together as seamlessly as we have. Sierra mentioned, that we did this massive build out for our friends over at Amazon Prime Films, and the Aeronauts that came out this last December. Beyond and our sister agency Evolve worked quite hard on bringing that all to life, and it was, I can honestly tell you, Sierra, if it wasn't for you and Posh, that would have never ever worked. We had 9 performers at one point of very good
each state.
Yeah, in each different of the 5 markets. And we had recreated this this late 1800s, turn of the century World's Fair that, of course, had a lot of specialty performers, and Posh completely owned that for us. Sierra, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today on EventSpeak. Once again, Sierra and Posh Productions can be found on their new fancy website, poshproductionslv.com. You will not regret it if you reach out to them. They get the Big John seal of approval. You can find us here, of course, at www.eventspeak.com. And we will catch you next time. And until then, everyone, please take care of yourselves and each other.